Welcome to Kutch time. The day is November 10th, 2025, and the Detroit Pistons just beat the Washington Wizards 137 to 135 to move in 9-2 on the NBA season. The Pistons came back from a 13-point deficit in the fourth quarter to force overtime and win the game. It was thanks to two-way player Danish Jenkins who hit a clutch three-pointer in the final 2 seconds, which allowed the Pistons to go in overtime and finally close it out. There was a lot of good tonight for the Pistons. Danish Jenkins had 24 points, 4 3-pointers, 8 rebounds, and 4 steals. This is a guy who doesn't usually play. He's a two-way player. He's on a two-way contract. He's only his second year in the league. He had a decent preseason, but nowhere near ready to get real game time minutes like he did tonight. It was because of all the injuries we had going in. We have about 6 major injuries for the Pistons, and guys who would be playing and that just couldn't. So we had to play the two-way guys. We had to play the third stringers of the roster, and Data Jenkins was part of that. And Data Jenkins stepped up big time. He was either him or Cade Cunningham the best player on the team, and I'd argue that Dennis Jenkins was the most impactful, especially in the fourth quarter, to get to overtime and get us the win. Cade Cunningham had a very interesting night. He had 46 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. He ties his career high for steals. He had 5. And he sets a new franchise record in Pistons history for 45 field goal attempts, and he only makes 14. A lot of his points came from free throws. He was a very good free throw shooter. He only missed 2. But field goal wise, he missed 31 field goals. This is like, I don't even know. This is like AI shooting, but AI will make more. This is attempting everything you could ever attempt for, but he just wasn't knocking it down. And it's not like Cade was not getting the shots he doesn't like. Basically, every attempt he had was a good attempt. Like it was an attempt, like okay, yeah, Cade should be attempting that because the Wizards can't play defense because they're not a good team. But he was attempting good points. He just couldn't get it in the basket. And a lot of it has to do with coming off. He played 40 minutes yesterday against the 76ers. That was a huge game, an important, and a very good roster the 76ers are. And it's okay. He plays 40. He has a dominant second half last night. He's probably tired out, but he has to come tonight, and it becomes a game which was expected to kind of be a blowout against the Wizards because the Wizards have one win on the NBA season. But so Cade just attempts everything he can. He makes some of it, but he has a 45-point triple double, which is insane. Um, so like you could argue he had a bad night, but like you can't have a bad night and a win, and you have a 40+ point triple double and 5 steals. Like yes, he could have easily had 60 points, maybe even 70 points with the amount of shots he attempted and the shots that he was attempting, but they just weren't going down. But luckily, that didn't destroy his confidence. And because in clutch time, he made some key baskets. He made a key 3-pointer to answer back to CJ McCollum 3-pointer by the Wizards, and that really kept us in the game. The Pistons were down 5 with about I think it was about 10-ish seconds left. Um, until Danish Jenkins made his first 3, and then he made the overtime clinching 3. Um, so because of that, Cade had a good game, and then Cade did have a good game, and he's was a big reason why we were able to win tonight. Uh, a guy forced into the starting lineup was Javonte Green. Again, so many injuries. 2 guys who haven't been starting normally for us this season were in the lineup. Him and Ron Holland. Javonte Green had 11 points and 11 rebounds. He had good defense. He had good hustle. I mean, he did everything asked for. He was the last guy in the offseason free agency that we signed, and he was kind of seen as like a veteran. He's 32 years old, just a guy who's been around the league and can help us out when we need him. Today was a night we needed him, and he helped out as to his best ability. He didn't shoot the best, but you have a double double after not starting any game into the season. It's the game 11 now, and he did fine. I mean, he did exactly, if not better than what I expected. Jalen Duren had 19 points, 14 rebounds. He was okay tonight. I'd say his stat wise is always going to look good. He was always looked good last year, even though some games um, weren't so on defensive end. He was also very much visibly tired from last night. Um, and it just like he had a lot of rebound attempts that he just missed timed and like couldn't get. And like he realistically should have had probably like four to five more rebounds. But he just couldn't get it going on the rebounding end. Even though he still finishes with 14, which is crazy, but it was an overtime game, and a high score and one of that. So he had an okay game. His stat line is always going to look good as Jalen Duren, unless he gets in foul trouble. But he did fine. There was bad tonight. We played the Washington Wizards in a close game. Washington Wizards are easily a bottom three team in the league right now, and the Pistons, who are the first seed in the East right now, should never really be in competition with them. But a lot of it was just because of the injuries tonight that led to that. But Ron Holland again, he started last night. He starts today. He got benched pretty early on. He only played 23 and a half minutes, which for a starter isn't a lot. Javonte Green played, I think, 30 plus minutes. And he was the second guy in the starting unit. Like Ron Holland was the first replacement. Javonte Green was the second replacement. Um, but Ron gets less minutes because he goes 5 points. He only gets four field goal attempts, but 0 for 3 on 3. And in those 23 and a half minutes, he was making 14. So we just, whenever he was in, the Pistons just couldn't get it going. A lot of Ron Holland's game is the defense, and it just wasn't clicking tonight. So it wasn't a good night for him. He had a struggling night yesterday too. I just don't think Ron Holland's ready to go against starting units, even though Washington Wizards starting unit. Because the whole Pistons line got cooked by CJ McCollum, who was 34 years old, and he had a 40-plus point game, which is insane. Again, I mentioned this yesterday. Injuries are just piling up for the Pistons right now. We got some news on Tobias Harris. He's been diagnosed with a high ankle sprain. We don't know when his clock started, but a high ankle sprain in the good end, usually it's two-ish weeks. But in the bad end and the bad severity, which we haven't been informed on what the severity is publicly, but a really bad high ankle sprain could be a month to two out. Which Tobias Harris missing that much time isn't good, especially with the injuries that we've already have. Jaden Ivey again, could come back end of this month, maybe more likely at the beginning of next month. Sasser again was ruled out for the next 4 weeks. Stu, Asar, Karis LeVert, all day today, all ruled out today. Isaiah Stewart, I would predict maybe misses a couple more games. Isaiah Stewart, I don't really know. He also rolled his ankle against the 76ers like Isaiah Stewart did Wednesday night against the Nets. And Karis LeVert was just injured to start the year, so he's just probably not ready to play back-to-backs. So Karis LeVert is the guy I'm least worried about. Asar, I'm a little bit worried about. Stewart, I'm a little bit worried about. But Tobias Harris, that's going to be a big loss, especially because he's our starting power forward. At least he was to start the season. Once he comes back, I don't know. Maybe Stewart takes that spot because him and Duren in that starting lineup has worked really well. Cade also had an injury today. He had a hard fall after Cam Whitmore fouled him and then stared over him. And he rightfully so got a technical foul for that. And he just he hit his back weird, and so he went to the locker room real quick, and then but he was able to come back and play the rest of the game, which was big. But just going to the locker room, it was a bit of scare. It was a hard fall. It didn't look. It wasn't. It was painful. It was painful to look at. It was. You could hear the thud on the ground when he hit the floor. So will he miss time? I'm not sure. I hope not, because Cade is our best player night in and night out, and he always brings it, no matter if he's missing 30 field goals a game. So yeah, just the injuries that piled up so far, and the lineup is kind of is screwed up. We have two-way players playing. Dayton Shake has played a lot of minutes. Bobby Clemens has been playing. Chaz Lanier, our second-round pick last year, is playing, or this year is playing. Javonte Green starting. Paul Reed's playing. Paul Reed's like the guy who's like one injury, Paul Reed's playing, or one center injury, Paul Reed's playing. There's a center injury, so Paul Reed has to play. And he had to find. He had to play a lot. But we're just playing guys that really aren't ready to play in the NBA right now, and at least not like regular minutes, which they're going to have to be with the injuries we got right now. So hopefully guys can get injured healthy real soon, and we don't add any more injuries to that list because that's going to screw the Pistons. But luckily they've built a bit of a cushion being 9-2, but it's still only game 11, and we've had a pretty easy schedule right now. So we're going to probably go up against the Gauntlet pretty soon. Next game is Wednesday against the Bulls. It's a revenge game. One of the two losses we had was opening night at the Bulls, which we lost, and that was a very bad game for the Pistons. We went down really early on, and then we came back like we did tonight. That's been a key feature of the Pistons so far this year is going down early and then just coming back in the fourth. But that game was one of the games well, we just couldn't come back in. We had dug ourselves too big of a hole and too big of a challenge to even try. So it is at Detroit this time, and I'm sure there'll be a big crowd because it's all Chicago. Um, and the Pistons have been getting good crowds, even a good crowd against today against the Washington Wizards. So hopefully we can win that. I have no idea who will be healthy. Hopefully, Karis LeVert should be back, but hopefully at least a star can come back because the star missing defensively was very visible tonight. Losing his communication, losing his athleticism. He's our best defender in on the team, and he's probably a top 10 defender in the whole league. And he really shows it in just playing. Asar can kind of have a quiet night offensively, but if you're going to look at the plus minus, his defense is going to carry that, and he's going to have positive minutes basically no matter what's happening on the other end of the floor, just because of how much happens and good happens on the defensive end. So thank you for watching, and hopefully the Pistons can win Wednesday night. Thank you.